Evening all, welcome back to Starbound. Right, well, I've not played this for a while, so I thought I'd just give it a bit of a spin, and we've got some interesting new tech that I'd like to show you. This is the human mech. It looks amazing. It's like ed.1.15 on steroids. Yeah, it's not very good though. A lot of the vehicles in this game at the moment are actually pretty terrible, so yeah, level 1 planet, this might wreck face, but sadly on level 10, which I think I'm on a level 10 planet, this is terrible. So we're not going to waste any more time with that. We'll probably show a bit more. We'll go back to the Alpha Quadrant and we'll show a bit more of that. But what's there to say about this game? It seems to be getting quite popular. I was traveling last week and I was having a bit of a conversation with a fellow gamer, and they were sort of talking about games they play, and they were saying, oh yeah, I play Halo and Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy, and unfortunately those are just kind of games that really passed me by. Maybe not Halo, I did play Halo, but only after the curve. And I think that's a shame because I did miss out on quite a hell of a game. Whereas we both agree that this and Minecraft are rather excellent, wonderful, fantastic, wonderful games, underlined with an arrow pointing at it. And that started a very interesting conversation. Picture this, if you will, two grown men, both in suits, not that old, just make that very clear, not that old, but let's just say the other side of 18. And we are sat in one of the most exclusive bars in New York, and there's ladies aplenty around us. There's lots to look at, lots to do, lots to see, and we're sat there talking about bloody armor types and weapon types, and oh man, did you build a base? Oh my god, my base keeps getting destroyed by meteorites. Oh my god, mine too. And the people we were with, just looked at us like we were just mental, which probably we were. I think this is one of the beautiful things of gaming, though, because it's a whole new genre of entertainment, really. Because way back when, in the 80s and the 70s, people would watch TV and everybody would talk about that TV. So when Kes came on, if you don't know what Kes is, it's a really bad film with John Gordon Sinclair, I think his name is, or John Sinclair, and it's about basically a love of a bird, kestrel. And that's literally what the 70s was all about, kestrel loving. So basically not a lot happened in the 70s. So when something happened like, oh my god, my bin was moved in the night, that became major news. And pretty much that was what people spoke about. Whereas now I think entertainment and just generally the internet generally have created a much more kind of sensationalist series of entertainments, and gaming I think is part of this. And I tried to explain it to my boss. My boss is about 60 years old, typical kind of Jewish New Yorker, very, very stoic, very nice guy, lovely funny guy, and I tried to explain to him, quote, gaming, and he said, what do you do in your spare time? Because he plays golf and I don't. He was curious what I do in my spare time. So I thought, well, might as well tell him. And I told him that I was an evil arch overlord of a massive space empire. I was a Roman general who charged through the masses of the Britons and basically took over part of Germania. I was also a little sprite in a weird 2D spaceship that kept beaming up and down onto a planet using human mechs and weapons and hammers. And basically, once I got out of the mental hospital that he put me in immediately, we had another chat, and I explained to him that it was all to do with gaming. And it was a very interesting conversation because he had no concept of gaming. He didn't understand what it's about. Yet he did understand that his daughter does it. He understood that it's a very popular pastime, generally. And I think it was a nice thing because I think people, to different ages, I think as well, I think are starting to understand that gaming is actually a very valid pastime. Whereas before I think people looked at it and said, you must be a nerd to game. I think people look at it now and say, if you game, you could be a nerd, which is a weird kind of promotion, I guess, but not, well, it's something. And I think gaming is something becoming, more kind of engaging to people because, let's face it, people don't always want to sit and watch TV every night. They want to maybe do something. People know socially different people throughout the world because of the way that they interact with people. So it's a very different social experiment, almost, you could say now. So anyway, in subtext, and I guess, summary is, gaming is something that I really do think is becoming much more of an accepted art form. And whereas before I would have hidden very open, very like carefully and casually, and never openly admitted I was a quote gamer, because it would be, I would rather probably admit that I have sex with chickens, because poultry banging is probably a bit more accepted than gaming was maybe 10 years ago. But I think now people understand that, GTA 5 and the Elder Scrolls and or rather Skyrim and that whole thing, people are aware that these things are coming through. Plus, when they start to make more games into films, I think that starts to draw people's minds out as well. However, when people make films of Doom and they balls it up as much as they did, that doesn't help nobody. But we'll see. I think as we kind of go, I mean, again, you're looking at a game like this, it looks a kid's game, and it kind of is. It's there for generally just, like Minecraft. It's not exactly there for, it's not trying to be a kid's game, but by nature of it is very open and inviting for kids. And I think obviously that's why they had that scandal with it recently, which is terrible. Hopefully that's been resolved. But I think this is something that people are kind of maybe getting over the stigma of that kind of problem. It doesn't bother me so much anymore. Maybe it's because I'm older now, and I think, to be honest, that I care less what people think of me as I maybe once did. But I think it also is just something that it does show a different mindset, and it maybe shows a maturity, but also an immaturity. And let me explain that, because a maturity to do gaming is something that I think comes from, you're not just willing to let someone convey you a story. So if you watch a film, you watch a film, and you're watching somebody else's work and masterpiece, etc., and you're just sat there passively engaged in it. Whereas when you play a game like this, particularly a game like this, you are actually writing that story yourself. So you could build your home, you could go searching for monsters, you could go and dig and delve for riches. You can do pretty much what you decide. And I think that's a very empowering thing. And I almost think this is why around the world we're seeing nowadays a much more kind of articulate, motivated, and I guess empowered youth. Because let's face it, if you're young, and I mean young like, sort of 16, well, younger than that, but if you're 16 to 21, you're kind of screwed. The people above you have screwed up the country for you. And most pretty much of the Western economies, they don't have the jobs. If you go to university, you're not guaranteed to get a job. And it's pretty heartbreaking, it really is, because when I did my degree and I finished and I went, it's pretty evident I was going to get a job in something. Whereas now you've got people leaving with really, quite honestly, good degrees, and they're basically having to go and work at, Costco and Tesco's stacking shelves, which is absolutely heartbreaking. It really is. So I think if you're one of these people, don't lose faith. Eventually this will sort itself out. And I think the opportunities are starting to come back. I really do. But I just think at the moment it's a very difficult time to be young. And I think this is why, quite frankly, a lot of young people now, they don't have the certainty and the assurance that they're going to have the life that their parents had. That's a very unusual concept. Everybody generally, in a growing economy, everybody has this feeling that you're going to do better than your parents did. But Japan and America and Britain and Germany, maybe not Germany, but a lot of the Western economies, there's no guarantee that you're going to have as good a life as your parents did, and that's very, very sad. Anyway, I don't mean to bring the tone down, but this is why I think things like this, you should not worry about the hierarchy and the roles and the stereotypes of anything. You should be who you want to be. And I don't want to make this all kind of preachy and a bit like an Oprah Winfrey show, but I do have a very strong belief that if you should just be who you are. You should never act and play a role. You should always just be you. And I think because that's when you'll probably be most happiest, and I think that's also when opportunity comes knocking for you. And I think no matter who you are, eventually things do get better. So if you're in a bit of a shitty situation, which again, I get a lot of analytics from YouTube, and it tells me the average age of people and stuff like that. And I think there are a lot of I would say younger generation people watching these videos. I would just say to you, don't give up. I was exactly where you were, but it does get better. There we go. Bit of a need some soft music playing in the background maybe, but hopefully you enjoyed that. And I think again, Starbound, lovely game, really is a casual, wonderful game that I enjoy. Hope you enjoyed that also.